Hello, I'm Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to come on and do a video about a potential announcement before Christmas coming from, I don't know who, the government in some means. So, like the White House, Joe Biden, Kamala, the DNI, the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, somebody, NATO, I don't know, somebody making an announcement that says, this is what happened with the election, and there was interference, and it's bad, and we're not going to let Trump be a president. That's basically my wish list. And also, what I've been getting from my guides as far as having an announcement. Okay. So I also wanted to talk, before I get into the reading, I wanted to talk a little bit about timelines. So the difficulty that most readers have is that, like my problem mainly is my guides will give me information that is so far in the future, like years away, right? And so I'll say something and everybody will just think I'm crazy because I'm saying things that just sound like they could never possibly be. And then time goes by and people are like, that doesn't sound so crazy anymore. And this has happened to me all my life. But, making predictions too far in advance, I'm not saying I'm Nostradamus or anything. I'm just saying that making predictions too far in advance is a little dicey because people can always say, "We'll see, it hasn't happened," because it's too far. It's happening like 2 years from now or something. But then let's consider timelines. People have free will, and there are timelines. So you go along, you're making your predictions along a particular timeline. And then somebody makes a crazy choice, and then a timeline jumps. Now, this is what I think happened when Joe Biden actually decided to run for a second term. He had made his decision to only be a one-term president, and then he changed it. And I don't know what changed his mind. I don't know if it was all the horrible things that T-Rump was saying on the campaign trail, or all the stuff that he just saw going on around the world. I don't know. I don't know what his reasoning was, but I'm surprised that he did that and that he didn't just put Kamala in from the get-go, or just say to Kamala, I'm not going to run. You should definitely be running. Go for it. Because that would have been a different story. Would it have had a different result in the election? I don't know, because T-Rump cheated. So if he cheated, then anything that anybody would have done would have failed, because he was going to call the tune with his cheating. So there's that. I think the timeline changed when Joe Biden dropped out. I think the timeline changed at least 3 times now since then. Right before the election, timeline changed. Things change. And so a lot of these predictions don't seem to come true, either because they are predicting things that are too far off in the future and it hasn't happened yet, or because the timeline has changed and it's never going to happen. And you could just make that assumption about anything and any prediction. I mean, you don't have to talk about timelines. You don't have to talk about any of it. You could just say, no, they're wrong. You could say that. So I'm saying all of this just to say that I'm a person who is committed to things. So when I go out on a limb and make a prediction, I'm committed to that. I'm not going to hedge my bets. I'm just going to say, this is what I think is going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. I've been a psychic and a tarot reader and an astrologer for a very long time. I'm used to that. I'm not used to failing totally, but you're not going to be 100% right. That's just not going to happen. But you can kind of know where the trends are going. And that usually is what people continue to come to you for. Well, you kind of know the way the wind blows, right? So I'm going to go to you and you're going to give me advice. In terms of these politics, excuse me, that was my phone. I don't know why it dinged so loudly. But in terms of politics, it is interesting because I don't know if the timelines are always jumping. I don't think they are. I think this year is extraordinary. But people make choices, and that does change things, the ramifications of what falls out is going to change. So the first reading that I'm doing is just straight up saying, is there going to be some kind of announcement coming out of somewhere? All right. So I shuffled the cards, I laid them out, and I gotta tell you, the first card up is kind of amazing. The first card up is, I'm just doing a Celtic cross, is the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups, people. This is a yes card. This just says right out the gate, yes, there is going to be an announcement. So, booyah, there's going to be an announcement. All right. And what crosses that is also a really great card. It is, sorry, I hit my microphone. So let me say that again. And what crosses that is also a really good card. It is the Two of Cups. Now, the Two of Cups is not just a romantic partnership, but it is an agreement. It is cooperation. It is a union of some kind. It is people coming together with an agreement, possibly a written agreement, about how they're going to behave. So this Two of Cups over the Ace of Cups, I'm thinking, for one thing, that whatever they come out with is going to make a lot of people very, very happy. And also that it's going to be for the general good, that it's going for the highest good, not for any nefarious means. Now, beneath it, and this is really interesting because just the literal way that the Celtic cross goes, this is the card beneath. And I also think that this is showing us what's going to be happening behind the scenes. And that is the Five of Wands. Now, the Five of Wands in most Rider-Waite decks is pretty similar. And this one is no different. It is people gaming or playing or competing. Could be a sporting event or whatever. But what I think it shows is the resistance, the friction, the pushback behind the scenes to this agreement and announcement, whatever. So I think that, once people know that this is coming out, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, no, you shouldn't be doing that. That you can't say that. That's ridiculous or whatever. In the past, we have the Prince of Pentacles. Now, the Prince of Pentacles could possibly be somebody from one of the agencies. It's a Scorpio, not Scorpio. It's a Taurian card. I believe he has a symbol for Taurus on his necktie. It's an earth sign. And also somebody who has to do with money. So this is going to be somebody who in the past warned of the money about this interference that caused it. Here's another thing about this card. Take a look at this guy's face. Does he look a little bit like Elon Musk? Just a little bit, right? The bottom half of his face, no. Elon Musk has that funny thing around his jowls that makes him look odd. But the top part of the face, I think, looks a lot like Elon Musk. So I'm going to say that this has to do with Elon Musk. That part of what pulled them into illuminating the plot or the, whatever the interference was, had to do with Elon Musk, that he was really key to them being able to pull this all together. Now, the card that crowns is the Queen of Wands. Queen of Wands used to be my Nancy Pelosi card. Is it still? Possibly. But we have another fire sign woman who is top of mind in all of this news and Trump admin and, Trump hubbub and all of that stuff, Liz Cheney. And interestingly, the model for this card is Elizabeth Taylor. Liz, this is Liz. I love that. I love the way that worked out. It's just like boom in your face. And it took me a minute to connect all those dots, but I did connect them. Okay, and then the card in the future. And to me, when we're asking this question, the way the cards are arranged physically, again, the cards kind of point to that future card. And the pointing here is to the Empress or Mother Russia. So the involvement, and notice too in the physical layout of this throw, right across the thing from each other is, let me get these over here, there we go, is Mother Russia and Elon. Interesting, as Rosie would say. Now, let's move along. Whoever's making this announcement, and this possibly could be like Avril Haines from the DNI, but I don't feel like she feels it's her place to make a big announcement. She made the report. I think she feels like somebody else is going to make the announcement, but it's all her information. But I think what everybody is going to be really, really uncomfortable with is what's the fallout going to be once we make this announcement. Well, the fallout is going to be the tower. There's going to be a whole lot of shaking going on. People are going to be really, really upset. And yet, whoever is making the announcement is just going to step back and let all the chips fall where they may. Because every aspect of this is taking place under such secrecy. I feel that the reason that Biden and Harris had to go back to the White House is because they had to go over material in a secure place, like a skiff. I feel like going over that and understanding all of that information is going to be the core of what they come out and announce. But they can't say everything. It's like with the documents case. There's so much that's confidential there. How do you present this to the public in such a way that you don't divulge state secrets, that you don't divulge ways and means and endanger people who are out in the field, and that you do give them the sense of how large this problem is and why it is just a slam dunk that Mr. T cannot be president, Mr. Musk can be nowhere near the White House, that Mr. Putin has declared an act of war by taking these steps, that actually Musk and Trump have declared war because they were most likely involved in the interference in other countries. That's my feeling. Anyway, so we have the Hanged Man is the action that they want to take. Their hopes are that this is going to be absolutely clear and that everybody will accept this as truth. 6 swords. Absolute clarity. Absolute clarity. Absolute clarity about all of this information. Now, because this is such an important reading, I actually got out the guidebook for this deck just to make sure that I didn't miss any nuances about the cards that might be really helpful in this reading. And I want to read you just the few key words that they give for this card. And this is in the position for what the people who are making the announcement, what they're hoping for. And it's science, yeah, exact, right? Evidence, science, deserved success, balance, intelligent behavior, explanation, change in the way of thinking, new mental orientation, conscious association, a trip or a journey. Well, obviously for the public, they're going to have to wrap their heads around all of this. They are going to have a change in their thinking, the orientation of their thinking, because they're going to have to accept some things that our legacy media are not telling them. So this is going to be difficult for them to accept. So the people who are preparing this have to be very careful in the way that they present it. They have to be very, very gentle with the public, but also exact. They have to bring to them the real truth of what's going on. And the final outcome is strength. Now, the strength card, yes, okay, there's strength. They do this in a very strong way and they feel they're right. But I read the strength card in a slightly different way. So for me, with strength, things can come to you. You can find yourself in situations that you've never been in before. And yet you rise to the occasion and you handle that situation, whatever the circumstance may be. And you realize that you have the skills to handle it, which you never knew before. That's what I think this is about. Because this country is in a position that we've never been in before, that most countries have never been in before. And we do have mechanisms that could help Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the DNI, the DOJ, the FBI, could help them to rectify the situation by pulling Trump out of the equation, pulling Musk and Vance and Ramaswamy and all of Trump's cabinet picks, pull them out of the situation and maybe arrest a few of them and allow Kamala Harris to go back into the White House. You know, with that strength card, it brings to mind for me how extraordinary this moment is, how extraordinary the situation is. And I just want everybody to really grasp that. This is not a moment where we have normal rules to follow. So just keep that in mind. This is extraordinary. I mean, it's extraordinary. I'm just going to leave it at that. The other thing I just want to reiterate from the top of the video, I know it's December 22nd, and I know that Christmas is on December 25th, and I'm still making this prediction. The cards are saying that something's going to come out, and I could be dead wrong and have egg all over my face. That's okay. This is my prediction. One of the, not really a vision, but one of the, kind of a vision that came to me is of, in England, King George VI, especially on Christmas, would send out a message to the country by radio. And the whole country would stop and listen to his message. Now, a lot of these TV shows that I love to watch are all about, Britain, like in the World War II era, whatever. And in that era, he would put out messages even more often than just Christmas. But that is the kind of rapt attention that will be paid to this kind of message that's going to come out. It's going to be as if the world just stops and says, what? Because it's a big deal. All right, let's go on to the next reading. Okay, so for the next reading, I want to cover, will there be any arrests ahead of time? Or will there be any sort of detainment or seclusion for any of the parties involved, like T-Rump, like Elon, like J.D. Vance, like any of the people who have committed to the cabinet? I mean, even Matt Gaetz might be a part of this. And I'm thinking people who are somehow affiliated with the actual election interference, not Jan 6th, not, bad committees in Congress, not any of that other stuff, but just focusing on the very narrow subject of election interference on a global scale and on a domestic scale. See, Trump, Musk, and Putin are involved on a global scale. We don't know how many other people might be involved with that. We certainly know that most of the people here in the U.S. would have been involved with the election interference here. Maybe Michael Flynn is involved with the whole international thing, but I can't think of very many other people. Maybe Roger Stone and affiliates between Flynn and Stone. I don't think Bannon, but maybe Bannon, because Bannon has a lot of international contacts too, so maybe Bannon. But so let's do that reading. All right, so I've shuffled the cards and I've laid them out. And the first card up is the Seven of Wands. And in this deck, this is the Seven of Wands. And so this is a man who is, let me see if I can get that to focus. There we go. This is a man who is standing in integrity. He is very proud, as you can see by his stance, and he is fending off attackers pretty much from all sides. So in this deck, what the author and illustrator want to represent here is somebody who's self-righteous, somebody who's very righteous about their cause, who understands what they're doing and does not want to back down, but rather wants to defend himself. And so he is defending with his rod or his wand. What crosses him is the Two of Wands. So what I get here is, first of all, in this card, those two wands, look at this guy, also very proud, standing in his integrity, with his values intact and his principles. And the two wands on either side of him represent good and evil, light and dark, female and male, all the duality that you can think of. So here we have someone who is standing in their own integrity and believing in their values, but also somebody who is defending those values heartily and taking no prisoners, not backing down for a moment, even if it means that he has to physically defend himself. And so I'm thinking that, yeah, people are going to be arrested. So let's go on with more of the cards of the reading. The next card is the Nine of Swords, and this would be in the position for the subconscious or basis of the matter. And also from the other reading, remember I was saying that the card in that reading was pertaining to, now that was the Five of Wands. That was, conflict, friction, disagreements, changes, and that we probably would not see those things happening. They would be in the background and they would be happening behind closed doors. Same with this. I don't think we're going to see the arrests, but boy, the people who are going to be arrested, you think Peter Navarro squawked when he got arrested? Wait until we actually find out, which, could be 10 years later because nobody's going to be talking about it. But the people who will be apprehended, detained, secluded, restricted, they are not going to feel good about this because they're going to know that they're caught red-handed, that they're going to probably be going to jail for a long time, and that what they did was not just a little domestic election fraud, but global election interference, which is an act of war. Okay? So, very serious for those people. And also that's probably why they would need to detain people or delay them from being in the public, shall we say. And that action in and of itself, when it comes to Trump or Vance, could also be a reason to delay the inauguration of January 20th. And delaying the inauguration of January 20th is not a goal for everybody involved with this, but it is a way to help give the public more time to accept what's going on, to help convince Congress that this is true, that there's evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that this happened and that these people are all bad and they need to be arrested or whatever. And also to prevent T-Rump from entering the White House. Now, the card for the past is the World. So this definitely is affecting the world, and it already has affected the world. Romania, Georgia, need I go on? I mean, there's a long list of countries. If you look at a map right now, if you Google map of countries in the world who have authoritarian governments, you will see that most of the world, except for North America and a good portion of Europe, are already sliding into authoritarianism to some degree or in authoritarianism outright. It's scary. When I Googled that, I was like, what? And that's what gave me, I think, the conviction to go ahead with some of the predictions that I'm making, because this is a worldwide problem. And the United States is like the big brother of the world, right? We always feel like the United States can right the wrongs. I know when I was growing up, it sort of started to shift and people started to say, why are we doing this? Why are we the ones that always prop up new democracies? Why are we the ones that always get involved with everybody else's war? Well, a lot of reasons. I mean, we want good trading partners, and trading partners are more stable. Countries are more stable when they're democracies rather than dictatorships or autocracies. So that was our reasoning. But also, we just like the idea of being big brother to the world. And that day has kind of gone. That day is in the past. But we still have a big hand diplomatically in keeping the world at peace. We just do. All right, so crowning this is the Prince of Wands. And the Prince of Wands is going to be somebody who is younger or in a more junior position, and most likely as a part of maybe one of these alphabet organizations, agencies. And this is going to be a fire sign person, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. But this is somebody who is helping with this whole thing. So this could be, this will be definitely somebody who is in law enforcement, but more in the physical aspect of law enforcement, not like FBI where they're doing investigations and stuff. And then you have the field agents who are actually doing the physical stuff. The next card that comes up is the Eight of Wands. So once this goes into motion, it's going to go fast. It's just going to go fast. And look at the face on this guy. Doesn't he remind you of Gary of Twin Tarot? I know, he does, except with black hair instead of white hair. So Gary here is jumping through the air, hanging onto his leg. Look at that flexibility. You go, Gary. And things are happening quickly here, and a lot of things are happening. So we may find that although we're not hearing about that, the arrests and all of those things, what's going on behind the scenes may spawn diverting news stories. So I'm predicting that between now and, let's say, New Year's, there's going to be so many diversion news stories out there to make you think that things are, that this is not happening, and to make you think that everything's normal, everything's going along as planned. Or if they actually come out to the public and say, yeah, we can't put Trump in the White House, then there'll be a lot of little diversion news stories about other things just to kind of get your focus off of that. Now, don't be surprised either if after like Christmas, New Year's into early January, you hear of Mr. T just being detained or having a health issue or some reason why he can't go ahead with the inauguration. That might be another way that they go in order to keep things calmer and to keep the public from, having riots and stuff like that. Now, with this organization that is doing the detaining or arresting or whatever they're doing, what are their fears? They have none. They have no fears because they know that they're in the right. They know that they have universal guidance, which means that when you couple this with the World card, these are people doing the work that needs to be done to maintain peace in the world. So they are very righteous soldiers. They don't have any ideas that there might be something wrong with this. They see the evidence. It is beyond a reasonable doubt. When Linda G has said before that Trump will be found beyond a reasonable doubt to be an illegitimate president, this is the first brick in that wall. This might be half the wall, because this beyond reasonable doubt will show that he is a criminal. He's a world criminal, not just a convicted felon in the United States, but a world criminal. So I think that's pretty bad. Now, what other people see, they will see that there is a strong leader who is showing us the way. A strong leader who has success, who has victory, who is calm, who is going about his work in a very determined and calm manner, which makes us all feel more secure, which makes us all feel safer. And I really like that. The hope here is that it can really be happening in the dark, that nobody will really see this, that they will be able to pull this off, their own sort of coup, if you will, but that they will be able to pull this off with secrecy. Nobody gets hurt. There's not a big kerfuffle. There's no big riots, but that they do pull it off. And in the end, then they'll be able to come to the public and say, hey, it's fine. It's all over. So I did say that I thought that there was going to be an announcement before Christmas, but that announcement may be a little delayed. I mean, it might not be right before Christmas, but I'm thinking it's right around this time. And so the things, though, that have to happen for that announcement to be made are, I think, these detainments and arrests, I think, have to happen, because if they just made the announcement, all the rats would scatter. Like when you turn on a light in a New York apartment, all the cockroaches run, right? You don't see them because what you see is them running away. We don't want that. We want to be able to nail everything down, to bring them to justice, and so that they can't do this anymore. That's a tall order. So there's going to be a lot that is diversionary in the media for our safety, to keep us safe. So don't think that everybody's lying to you and everybody's covering everything up. They're not. They are, but they're doing it so that we can stay safe. Because now we've waded into a territory that is actually very dangerous, because we are dealing with international criminals who have no qualms about, I mean, look at Putin. He has no qualms about giving somebody a little Polonian tea or, bumping somebody out of a window. So things could be dangerous, not for you and me, but for people who are close to this. And, it's only 6 degrees of separation that, somebody is going to be close to it that So be careful, but also, don't worry so much. You're not going to get bumped off. But the world right now is going to be in a very tenuous position. So I don't mean to scare everybody, but this is a big moment, a huge moment. Remember, we're talking about the world. We're not talking about just the United States. And I've said this all along. So the final outcome for this reading is that the pure of heart are going forward. So this, I know the Fool card, mostly people are saying, oh, it's a spiritual journey, or you're making foolish decisions and just, not thinking about the consequences. No, but another meaning in this is not just spiritual, but righteous. So this is the person pure of heart who is righteously going into the fray and, prosecuting those who need to be prosecuted with no fear for themselves. They just purely want to see what's right being done. That's what they want. So there's that reading. And then the last reading that I'm going to do is that we're just going to look at Kamala. What is her role in all this? And basically, what is she doing over Christmas? What's her Christmas vacation plans? All right. So let me shuffle, lay out those cards. I'll be right back. Okay. So this is the third reading. This is the last reading. And we're going to talk about Kamala. And I've shuffled the cards and I've laid them out. And so let's get into the reading. So the first card up is the Queen of Pentacles. So the Queen of Pentacles is, to me, Avril Haines, the director of the DNI. And the interesting thing, I saw a little clip of her, I think in Congress, testifying for something, and her hair is like this. Her hair is really like this. Glad I picked this deck. She doesn't wear this much makeup, though. She's a little plainer, and she wears glasses. But so this is definitely Avril Haines. And so her report went in, which is what Kamala is really focusing on. So Kamala is poring over this report and really trying to absorb all the information that she can from it from Avril Haines. And what crosses Avril Haines is the Prince of Cups directly and the Prince of Pentacles. So what does this mean? Well, I don't know who these people are, but I think that these would be people who answer to her. So they possibly could be people who work at her actual agency, or they could be people who work at one of the other agencies, but who were contributing to the report. They're people who are, bringing her information or collating information for her, bringing, culling information from their agencies. So they're either a part of the other agencies or a part of her agency directly, but they're working very closely with her. And so Kamala Harris is also getting information from them. And possibly Harris and Biden called these people in for more detailed information in the days following the release of the report and following their being able to have read it and absorbed it and really getting under the skin of this report. Now, in the past, we have the Princess of Wands. So the Princess of Wands, action person, right? This could be an early whistleblower who is also being mentioned in the report. This could be another person from one of the agencies that Avril Haines was getting information from early on, but now is no longer. Could have been somebody who left the agency. Could be a whistleblower totally unrelated to the agency, but it's somebody that in the past, maybe, and I'm saying maybe an early whistleblower, brought information that Avril Haines became aware of, and that began the report, the genesis of the report. Now, what crowns us, and even though the Queen of Pentacles comes up here in the significator position, this isn't a reading about Avril Haines. This is a reading about Kamala. And so what's crowning Kamala is the Ten of Pentacles, which indicates that there is a ton of evidence. A ton. So irrefutable evidence, so much evidence you can't deny it. And this is what has to, I think, go before Congress. Now, I'm not convinced that they have to bring anything before Congress, but most other readers are saying this. Maybe they know something I don't know about process, but we are in uncharted territory. We don't know how they're going to go forward with this. And I'm sure that Joe Biden, knowing everything that he knows about Congress and the Senate, maybe he knows that there's a process that they have to go through. And the presidency, for God's sake. I mean, he was 8 years the vice president with Barack Obama, and he's been in the Senate for, 50 years. So, I mean, maybe he knows something that none of us would have known, in the archives of his mind about how these kinds of channels should be navigated in order to get something like this done. Because this is a very unusual thing that they're trying to do. But it really is in his wheelhouse because he is the intelligence president. He is really good about reading his intelligence briefings, understanding them, getting to the heart of them. So if anybody can navigate this, it's Joe Biden. Also, he's great with foreign policy. Don't forget. Every time they had a Secretary of State, he worked very closely with that person. He didn't step on their toes, but he helped them. He's a very smart guy with foreign policy. Now, in the future, we do have the Five of Wands. So there is going to be a lot of changes to whatever they're deciding to put out. And I feel specifically for Kamala that she is going to be hip deep in making sure that anything that is going to be released to the public, discussed about arrests, discussed about just amongst the experts who are discussing all of these things, she's going to be involved. And she's not going to rest until every T is crossed and I is dotted the way she thinks it should look. And she is going to be working very closely with Biden to make sure that it conforms to what he thinks would be acceptable in the world of foreign policy, in the world of the Congress, in the world of the White House and administration, and in the world of NATO and the other countries that are going to be involved with this. So she's going to be not shy about saying what she thinks should be in there, but also not shy about taking advice from others who know. And it really is going to be consensus. It's going to be a very difficult, heated exchange all the time, but everybody involved is professional, and they are going to try to keep their cool so that they can create this thing as quickly as possible and come to some conclusions that will result in T-Rump not being inaugurated. Now, what she's thinking about, what she's fearful about, is the past coming back. Is T-Rump coming back in the White House? She does not want that to happen. What do other people see around her? How are they viewing her? Well, the people involved with working with her see her as the consummate professional. This card came up in our first reading. This is the person who stands supreme, who is victorious, who is standing in integrity, and who is making all the right moves. Now, something interesting about this card that harkens back to the Rider-Waite card, and I just noticed it. He is standing where you can see water and a mountain and birds and clouds and the sun. This is somebody who is seeing the whole picture. And the two wands that he or she stands between, again, represent light and dark, good and evil, femininity and masculinity. Everything, all duality. So she is standing in her integrity. She is using every bit of her professionalism and knowledge to bring this to an appropriate result. She's really clear on that. What is her hope? That they put him away. That they get everybody who's involved with this and they put them away so that they can never, ever, ever do this again. And the Six of Wands is the final outcome. Now, the Six of Wands I read about in the first reading, the first throw that I did. And I'm just going to read you the key words again out of the guidebook because it's so important and they're so meaningful. They're so right for this. The Six of Wands, the key words: victory, forces in balance, success, hope, conquest, a solid team with a strong leader. So I think in the first reading, I might have thought that Biden was the strong leader for putting the things together. I don't think that's the leader. I think it's Kamala. I think she's the leader. Triumph, good news, advance, desires realized as a result of efforts. There will also be anxiety and could possibly be inconclusive gain, treachery from a subordinate, or mutiny. Now, I think the treachery from the subordinate has already happened. I just hope it's not going to be happening with her. So let's all send good thoughts her way for that. All right. So another couple of words that I just want to say very briefly is that, tarot readers don't always agree, right? In fact, very often we disagree because we're making predictions, right? And I mentioned timelines at the beginning, so keep that in mind because things do jump about a bit. But I'm pretty clear that sometime between now and the end of the year, we are going to hear something that lets us know that this is in play, that lets us know that T-Rump is not going into the White House. And on just a kind of an unrelated note from PoliTarology the other night, people were so upset, are so upset about the very idea of Trump being Speaker of the House. And I got a lot of comments that I had to answer saying, Musk can't be the Speaker of the House because he's not an American-born person, and he couldn't be in line for the presidency. Okay, you're half right. All right. Actually, the rules for who can be Speaker of the House are incredibly vague. They basically say whoever Congress decides to vote in can be Speaker of the House. I could be voted in as Speaker of the House. However, the Speaker of the House, being the third in line to the president, assumes that that person would be qualified to be president, and if they're not an American-born citizen, then they are not. So in that case, if something happens to the president and the vice president and it goes to the Speaker of the House, and that Speaker of the House is somebody like Elon Musk, who is not a natural-born American, then they skip over him and they go to the fourth in line. And the fourth in line is the Secretary of State. So as long as the Secretary of State, which I believe is going to, would it be Marco Rubio or who? I don't know. Suffice it to say, it's just not going to come up because Trump's not going to get in. Musk is not going to be Speaker because the Democrats actually are going to have a majority, not the Republicans. I just feel that in my bones that that's going to happen somehow. And so it's just not going to be an issue. But should it, with all the fantasy land going on, Musk gets in as Speaker, they would just skip over him and go to the fourth in line, which would be the Secretary of State. So I just wanted to answer that. You don't have to keep putting it in the comments. And also, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who did put in the comments suggestions of readers to watch. I looked at a few of them that I was not familiar with, and so thank you for that. But a lot of these readers are so big. I've watched them all. I've watched them, and they're good. And I know also now, I realize there are also readers who kind of believe, as I do, that there's a good chance that Trump is not going to get in. So thank you for those comments. Don't stop making comments, please. Keep making comments. That's really great. Thank you so much. Thank you to my new subscribers. You guys rock. It's just awesome. And for those of you who've been with me for a long time, big thumbs up for you. I'm really happy with your loyalty and your comments and the things that you support me with. It's just amazing. So take care, everybody. And can I say Merry Christmas? Happy Yule? Happy Kwanzaa? Happy Diwali? Happy Hanukkah? Everything? Happy everything. Let's just say that. Happy everything. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.